Right, this is going to sound like a joke, actually, because hang on, let me adjust that a little bit there. Right, I wanted to show you a small little keyboard. Hello, by the way, I'm William Gallagher. This is 58 Keys, a live version of 58 Keys, where I clearly don't know which camera is which. Let's go with this one because you're looking good on that one. I'm looking a bit bright-eyed there. Bright-eyed, I'll go with that. This is going to sound like a bit of a joke. I need to get rid of that wire. That wire's going to stay there. Let's live with the wire. Don't you like wires? This is the bit that's going to sound like a joke. I was intending to start by showing you a tiny, tiny, tiny keyboard because the last week's 58 keys was all about tiny, tiny keyboards, and I have a tinier, tinier, tinier one, and I actually can't find it. I mean, it's just, it's not that small. Come on, but you know, bit of a problem, really. So that's the first 10 minutes stuck. This time on 58 Keys Live, it's about writing. It's about you as a writer, me as a writer, the tools we use, and all this sort of thing. Really, it's a bit of a broad topic, but more than ever, I think I actually need you on this because there's a thing I wanted to find out about, and I started to look into it, and I think you'll know more about it. There's also, oh, hang on, I've realised because I've got a camera mistake here. I've got comments over here. Stuart's here. Mark. Mark is saying that this cable, this lovely cable, available in stores anywhere. You never get quality like this on. Anyway, things like that. Mark thought it was something wrong with his TV set, and then said it's actually something wrong with my camera. I pushed the wrong button. I wonder if I could change it in the middle, but I'm used to this now. So small keyboards, they're really small. Yeah, Teresa. Yeah. What if I do that? Oh, if I just look casual like that. Oh, and what if maybe I just, look at my Apple Watch? Is that? Yeah. Okay. Actually, there might be a way. If I do that, is that better? Yes. See, you can just see a little nobule of something. Other than that, it's like I planned it all. And actually, no. Just out of camera range, there is the tiniest speaker in the world. And also this. Wasn't planning to show you that, but in the absence of an actual keyboard, and isn't that great? I don't know how clear you can see the title, but it's like, look at that. Design of Lego bricks, the history of them. I haven't actually played Lego since I was near, mostly because it's so expensive now, but perhaps I could read to you from that. Darren, good morning. Good morning. Where in the world is my head? Long day, you can tell. Good evening. Good evening, Darren. That sounded all Hollywood there, didn't it? Good evening. Tonight on Crime Watch, we come to you the case of the missing short, small keyboard. I think you'll really like it. It's small. I'm going to do another 58 keys video that has, this thing Apple does of they're not always as overt about it now, but they tend to go for good, better, and best is how they sell their things. Well, it turns out that one's still coming, but when it comes, I will have 3 teeny keyboards, and I actually think one is good, one is better, one is best. And just so that I can't, spend entire 30 seconds going that one. Each of them has a little thing that might change your mind and make you pick the other one. It's going to be an adventure, and it was going to start tonight. But how about we do this instead? Because I said I need you, and I know you're nice. I know you know this stuff. I'm a little uncertain about the topic because one of the things I wanted to ask you about was NaNoWriMo. It's my. Oh, hang on. Stuart says it's in my pocket. Tissue. iPhone 16 Pro Max. Good call, but no, thank you. Anyway, the cable is the only New Testament of issues compared to the pole. Oh, the pole. Okay, hang on. Can we just now we get the cord back? Now, what if I just do that? Okay, now I definitely have to just lounge here like some sort of 1960s Jason King kind of look. You're actually far too young to know what I mean by that, and I've got to say I'm kind of glad. NaNoWriMo. I'll get there eventually. Teresa's laughing at me. Thank you very much, Teresa. Okay, hang on. Right, just please talk amongst yourself while I secure the cord. Okay. What was I talking about? NaNoWriMo. Okay. I know you know it. You know of it. I find it really funny that this year of all years, I can say NaNoWriMo because forever I've had to stop and think national whatever. And this year, NaNoWriMo just comes out of me. And I have to stop and think that it is, hang on, NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing something. No, month, National Writing Month. November being the month in which we all pretend to write novels. Well, I say that. I've never actually entered NaNoWriMo. I think there was one year where I was just about to start something and I thought, why not? Let's see how far I get. And actually didn't get very far. So I stopped. Really? That was it. Oh, Stuart, you watched a couple of NaNoWriMo on here. It's a oh. Yeah. I knew there was a problem this year with NaNoWriMo, and Dot, one of the 58 Keys patrons, was telling us about it on there's a 58 Keys live writing sprint on a Sunday, and she was telling us about some of the problems. But I didn't know the detail, didn't know the background, so actually I thought, nah, be clever here, use AI to say what's wrong with NaNoWriMo, and this is the answer. I'm using an app called Perplexity, a service called Perplexity.ai, and I'm a little iffy about it. I loved Perplexity. It kind of instantly replaced Google for me as searches because not only was it good with information most of the time, there were some ludicrous howlers, but you spotted them and there were enough of them that you double checked everything. So, you eventually knew you were safe. But Perplexity had this thing of it was the good guy. It didn't do certain things that other Chat GPT and other stuff allegedly do, and then it turns out that actually Perplexity allegedly does it too, and I got a bit crushed. But I already had the app on the phone, and it is good. So I asked it literally, "What's wrong with NaNoWriMo?" And it says high failure rate. Approximately 80 to 90% of participants do not complete the 50,000 word goal, leading to disappointment and disillusionment among writers. Can I say tough shit? I mean, it's up to you, isn't it? It's one word after another. I'm not saying it's easy, but nobody's judging you for it. It's up to you. You went in for it, you do it, and that's all writing ever is. One word after another. Disillusionment. Yeah, you can get disillusioned, I suppose, but not over that. You chose not to complete it. So, is that wrong of me? Okay. Mark is saying, you're waiting on the Procrastinator's Guide to NaNoWriMo. But the release date keeps getting pushed back. Hang on a second. Boom. Marcus. Here through Thursday, 2-drink minimum. See your waitress for details. The next thing of NaNoWriMo, I think I dwelt too long there. I don't think you came into this to watch me read to you. We could do that. Are you old enough to remember Jackanory? No, you're not. God, this is not going well for me. Focus on speed over quality. So NaNoWriMo is on about rapid writing, so you get poorly developed manuscripts. Yeah. Okay. Oh, leaving little motivation for subsequent revisions. Did I get away with saying tough shit before? Please refer to the answer I gave earlier. And then this is the one that stopped me, and this is one where I kind of want your advice on it. Recent allegations of misconduct and inadequate responses to safety concerns, particularly regarding minors, have raised significant trust issues within the community. Please tell me that's AI playing a blinder. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? You just write your 50,000 words, you chuck it in, some word count says, yeah, that's 50,000 words, and you're done, aren't you? Kind of worried there. Darren, alas, you do remember. What do you mean, alas? Jackanory was brilliant. For the rest of you who aren't quite as well, I watched it live. Darren obviously saw it on repeats. He's probably seen the YouTube clips. There's bound to be a YouTube clip of this. Jackanory is a British television series, ran about 15 minutes at a time, and a really famous celebrity would just read to you from a book, and it was so good, so simple, so good. Lasted for generations, really. Actually, for all I know, it's probably still going on. Stuart says, sadly not. As in, sadly, you don't remember it, or sadly, you're not. Let's not go down that one. Oh, Aquarius Owl. Now that is a name and a half. Um, no, that happened last year in their forums. Oh, is that about the minor stuff? Okay. Do you mind if I call you Aquarius? Is that all sorted out now? Because I didn't mind criticizing NaNoWriMo. I didn't mind. I mean, I don't know enough to criticize it much. I didn't mind hearing from you about what was going on with it, what's wrong this year, but it felt like it went into an area there that was, well, actually possibly libelous. Even journalist head suddenly kicked in. Moderators for grooming minors. God in heaven. So I believe this year the problem is AI, isn't it, or something? Um, oh, that's curious. Good evening, Mr. Gallagher. I feel old now and formal, but also I can't see a name next to that. So good evening back there. Uh, all right, Stuart is saying he remembers Jackanory and he's claiming to be 62. Stuart, I know you. You're 21 and a few months. Okay, this is a family show. Don't go lying to people about your age. It's not big. It's not clever. Um, the AI topic went off the rails. Yeah, could you tell me more about that? I mean, I gather that the short version is maybe people tried to use AI to write their book. What is the point? I mean, give me a reason to have AI write your book. Well, maybe you can think of one because of speed and all that stuff. But then, okay, give me a reason why, in the world, I should read somebody's AI book. Yeah, I don't know. And what else was there? Something about sponsorship. Dot was saying the sponsorship by kind of, I don't want to say vanity publisher, except I just did. So, how about the good stuff? NaNoWriMo, can you tell me if you entered it, was it useful for you to have that daily thing of aiming towards a, well, I was going to say daily, because isn't that the logical way to do it? But the practice is you're a writer. You've got a month to do something, you do it in the last week, don't you? Or the last day, probably not the last hour, not 50,000 words, but you're looking a bit shifty there. I'm seeing some guilt on there. This isn't projection at all. I told you, I didn't enter it. Yeah, rescue me. Okay. AI supported AI's use. Yeah. Oh, they have a sponsor pro writing aid using AI. Wow. Eber Bear. Hey, I like your name. These are all writers' names, aren't they? Well, what a shock, William, given what we are. Okay. All right. These are interesting writers' names. Okay. So I think that if you want to enter NaNoWriMo using AI, well, whatever, you know, it's your life, I suppose. And I imagine there's an artistic accomplishment in going, there's my 50,000 words written right there. I imagine it's also a deep expression of your soul. Might well be, actually. Anya, good evening. Uh, oh, and I bet it's Welsh. Oh, it's one of those words, names you can sort of see on the spine of a book, can't you? Have you done that already? If not, there was a gorgeous thing Waterstones UK Bookshop did a few years ago. You know the meme of what's your showbiz name or something. They said, want to know your author name? Write a book and put it on the front. Like that. NaNoWriMo said not only was it okay to use AI, but if you were against using it, you're classist and racist. Well, I don't think I'll be entering NaNoWriMo this year. Although, I mean, part of me wants to go in to find out what, how. Oh, racist against large language modules. Have we come to that already? That's like a Star Trek thing, isn't it? The individual rights of the generative AI being and its ability to express itself. I'm all for AI expressing itself, I suppose. It's just not for, I mean, writers pretending that that's us expressing ourselves. Yeah, I look really rigid on this point. Maybe I'm being AI racist, am I? I did a few years ago. I interviewed 3 or 4 AI artists before this all kind of exploded up. None of them were doing text. No, one of them was doing it was like a conversational thing. She was creating a conversation. Another one was actually doing a video game that was in some way directed by AI. I possibly didn't understand it even then. What I was fascinated by was they were all using the same tool, and it was still clearly them. It was their expression, and each one of them, totally independently, said to me in their interview that AI was like a paintbrush. You know, it's how you use it, and I completely get that. I think now with ChatGPT and the ability to just tell it, write me a story, that's gone. I mean, there's a skill to prompts, isn't there? Um, Write me a good story. There you go. That makes a difference. You see me think here. Do I confess something? I promise you, if you listen to the end of this, well, I might sound stupid, but I won't sound awful. There was a time where I think I was laying out a magazine. I do about 6 magazines a year and stuff, and I didn't have the copy for something, but I needed something on the page. So I actually asked, I think it was perplexity.ai, to give me 5,000 words of nonsense text. And boom, there it is. I seem to remember it was 700 words. And I went to said, no, that's 700. And it went, as only AI can. You're right. What was I thinking of? Here you go. 1,300 words and things. I went round and round, and eventually it actually said, clearly, I can't do this. 5,000 words of nonsense. I mean, like, just give me lorem ipsum text over and over again. Maybe I should, it's my fault, isn't it? I should have asked for lorem ipsum text. Well, you live and you learn, don't you? But if AI can't be trusted to count words, then what's the point of any of this? Rescue me this. I'm going down a thing here. I went to the Discord server, NaNoWriMo. I was just, you didn't feel comfortable in there. It's funny, isn't it, Discord? I used to use it because this is just you and me, isn't it? The Apple Insider podcast that I now produce, a guy called Victor Marks used to produce it, and he liked Discord. So we would actually do the audio recording through Discord. So I have a Discord account, and I looked around the Apple Insider forums, and I just didn't seem to take to it much. But I didn't feel like it was unpleasant or anything. Like, for example, Twitter might be considered these days. They all change, though, don't they? I mean, well, maybe Twitter is irrevocably altered, but I'm more into Facebook now than I was. Maybe Discord changes as well. Not sure. But interesting that NaNoWriMo's on there. I didn't know. Aquarius, not racist, ableist. Well, I'm glad it's not racist, because I could not fathom that one, but ableist. Okay, okay. It's less of a reach, isn't it? You can get there with that one for it. If you object to AI writing books for someone, you're objecting to someone who maybe doesn't have the ability to write. Okay, then that comes down to, is it a physical thing, or are they just bad writers or something like that? There's no judging, though, is there, in NaNoWriMo? It is purely 50,000 words and away off you go. Okay, I don't know. That seems an overly excessive judgment. Sorry, do you mean me and my basically ranting for the last few minutes, or the ableist thing? 'Cause I'm kind of with you on the ableist. That's really bothering me. No, I mean, look, this is a silly, practically childish thing, but because we're writers, right? I know you are totally different to me. I don't write remotely like you. You don't write remotely like me. None of us do. We are all very, very different, which is fantastic. But we all kind of face the same problems with it, the one word after another. We all have to do the same slog. And I think we get into the same situations for it, the same highs and lows kind of thing. So I feel like there's a kind of collegiate thing amongst writers. I mean, I'm deputy chair of the Writers Guild. So, you know, I'm really into writers standing up together and things. But then this kind of falling apart and being accused of being ableist. I mean, I presume by the organizers of NaNoWriMo, and I realize I'm presuming they're writers. That might be foolish of me. Wouldn't be the most foolish thing I did. Oh, Mark, you've redacted a message. And you know now, God, I know what it is. Oh, right. Okay. No. Stuart's saying, I wrote a blog piece last year, AI, and asked Grammarly AI to write a paragraph, which I put in the middle of the piece, and nobody spotted it, even though I told them it was in there. You know what I'm thinking, don't you? If I was that, if I'd done it, I'd think nobody's read that far. And I'd go away all miserable and depressed. Oh, did anybody comment on things that happened after that paragraph? George, hello, George. I'm William, by the way, we haven't spoken before. Writing is connected to reading, obviously. I was a bit alarmed to read a recent Atlantic article about college students can't read novels anymore. What are writers without readers? Yeah, yeah. Do you know, I have problems with writing in universities. Not all of them. I can think of some good ones I've been into even. But I hadn't had that problem. People can't read novels. My wife Angela's part of her university course included linguistics and language, and she was reading a lot, and she read so much, and it was overanalyzed so much that when she finished, when she passed, she didn't read a book again for ages. In fact, she said she didn't read another novel until she met me, which I felt great about. Well, not the gap, but that I brought it back. And now you should see her reads so much. Stuart, not sure what that says about my writing. Anyway, if NaNoWriMo is a way to encourage folk to write, does using AI somewhat defeat the object? And that's Anya Malloy, another author-sounding name there. Yeah, I can't think of a longer answer than that. It's depressing, though, isn't it? I think a problem. I guess, I mean, right, I'm a professional writer. I've been for a long time, freelance writer. So I get people sending me stuff, and that's very nice, except when it isn't. I had this one day, I actually went and had a bath. I was just sat in the bath thinking, what in the world can I say to this person? And I ended up saying it was nicely typed. It's all I could manage. Okay, but most of the time, I mean, it's not like it happens every day, and it's very flattering when someone thinks I can be of any use to them. And of course, I want to read everybody's work, not least because it's easier than writing anything else yourself. I'll just put off that writing while I read this. But sometimes you lose the whole thread when you're thinking about baths and typing and things. I might come back to that one. Oh, Steve, excuse me, Steve Donahue, you were on a deadline. You told me you're on a deadline. What are you doing here? But I'm glad you are anyway. Okay. A question about the biggest iPhones. Are their screens big enough for reading books? I really like to read more books. Oh, and then Mark's answer. Mark, you just answered it. Yeah, just a touch bigger than the screen on the Kindle Paperwhite. Oh, is that true? Oh, I've got a Kindle Paperwhite somewhere. It's probably with the small keyboard that I can't find. But yeah, actually, Steve. I'm with Mark. Yes, one of the reasons I switched to the iPhone 16 Pro Max from the iPhone 15 Pro is I was tempted by the bigger size. I didn't know why I was, but I was. You're seeing all sorts of personal photographs there. Don't push a button on your phone, William. But I also figured it might be a really good e-reader, and it is. I just reread Richard Osman's The Thursday Murder Club on it entirely on the phone. It was great. I know I've had the iPhone for about a week now, less than that, and it's still a bit of new toyness to it, but it's kind of replaced my iPad for a bit because the screen is big enough for it. Kindle screen is 6.8, iPhone Pro is 6.9. That's amazing. You know, did I read that right? The 6.8? Because I was actually looking at the Kindle Paperwhite the other day, and yeah, I think because the resolution's different, isn't it? How would that make the Paperwhite seem smaller? I don't know. And George is saying that's hard to believe. George, which bit for it? I feel like we've stepped away from NaNoWriMo. In fact, Steve, I think you've battered us away from dangerous areas there. Oh, there's a beautiful phrase that I now, of course, will misquote. Traveling into the vast inane. It's actually to do with helicopters and flying, but it felt so right for Rise. It's kind of stuck with me. Well, actually, only the second half of it has. Venturing into the great unknown and flying into the great inane. I'm going to have to look that up one time. There's a lesson for writers. Quote accurately. Yeah. Steve, I think you've rescued us from NaNoWriMo. Let's summarize it thusly. Thusly, that's a nice word. People don't use the word thusly enough. This is a serious conversation room. NaNoWriMo feels like it's lost its way a bit. It did a lot of good, I think, for people for a lot of years. Didn't affect me, may not have affected you, but it obviously helped some people. So the fact that it's doing strange things now is problematic, but I hope it'll sort itself out. Now, iPhones and screens. So the only real detriment to reading on the iPhone is the distraction quotient. Yeah, I guess, except, somebody criticized me the other day for speaking very American when I'm British, and yeah, I guess is a bit American. I actually asked them, what did I say? And that might be the example. Um, yes, but there are two types of distraction, aren't there? People who get distracted and people who don't. There's incoming distractions, so there's notifications and stuff, and there's kind of outgoing distractions where you, and I do specifically mean you, think, oh, what about this? Or what about that? Or can I read another book instead? Or what if I check out this article and things? That one, the second one, there's no helping you. You're on your own. But the inbound one, I showed you my phone there. There was a chance I was going to get a phone call. So before I did it, I took a screenshot of the thing I wanted to show you to make sure I had it on the phone, and I put it into stun. Phone's on stun. Airplane mode, do not disturb. Still some things get through that, but I have an extreme writing focus mode that kills everything except my ability to go look things up. So I don't find it a problem much at all. I can cope anytime. It's the cold water on your shrinkage. I may have missed a bit there. What have I missed about that? Okay. Mark, yeah, see, Mark, you were on the same page here. Focus modes, yes. It's bigger. I think George is thinking of a Kindle, right? Yeah, I'm honestly. I mean, obviously, I believe you. Of course, you wouldn't lie to me. I mean, you're Mark, but it's just the fact. I think the screens are so different. I'm amazed at the sizes there. But let's see. iPhones don't have the girth of the Kindle. Are you sure? The thing I wasn't expecting with this, the bigger phone, is how much heavier it is than my old one. I mean, how long have I had this? About a week now, and still I'm really conscious of it. I think as well because the camera stuff makes it slightly top heavy. So when I get it out of my pocket, I'm a little afraid of doing that. And I haven't felt that with the Kindle Paperwhite. What's the Kindle that is it? A Kindle Oasis? It's got a thing down the side where you grip it, and it always seems the wrong side to me. And there's a Kindle Scribe, which just feels lighter, but in a like the weight's distributed strangely. Um, I think they're lighter. I think they're smaller. Well, apparently the screens are smaller. Don't know. I mean, I like my Kindle Paperwhite. I'm not knocking it. Let's see. Darren, William. Oh, don't do this to me. But you're going to. If you could only keep one of the new essential Apple products you bought, which one would it be? What's the phone? I bought the phone and the Apple Watch Series 10, and I slightly regret the Series 10. Actually, yeah, the big thing about the Apple Watch Series 10, well, one of them, is that the screen size is the same, so slightly fractionally, pixely. Is that a word? About a pixel bigger than the Apple Watch Ultra. I looked at the Apple Watch Ultra last year and the year before, and I really liked that screen, and it seemed so big. But the whole watch seemed big as well, like that really chunky thing, and that just put me off. And the price, it just for what it gave me, it wasn't worth it. I stuck with my Apple Watch Series 7 and was very happy. So then, when the Series 10 is announced as having the same size screen, basically I fell for it. I mean, I like it. I don't think you can possibly. Hang on. I haven't sent back the other one in trade yet. There is a difference. The 10 is thinner, and I like that. It is lighter, and I noticed that. But I don't see a big difference in the screen. Oh, except one thing. This caught me out, so maybe you don't know it either. Apple made a big thing of when your watch is slightly off kilter, it dims the screen to save power, fine, but it stops the second hand going round. It only updates the screen once a minute so that the hour and minute hands move. Okay. This new Series 10 one updates once a second, so it can keep the seconds going round. And also, if you're doing things like a stopwatch and stuff, you don't have to keep doing to get it back to see the seconds for it. Great. I assumed unthinkingly that worked for all watch faces, and it doesn't. The one I used to use, it doesn't work. I haven't been through all of them yet, but there's this, I mean, how well can you see it? One they call Reflections. It works on there. And so far, that's it. So, do I feel robbed by the Series 10? No, it's very nice. And it is faster. I think it's faster. It's not like you need your watch to be very fast, but it's kind of responsive. That's the word I'm looking for. But if it came down to choice between, okay, hang on, wait a second. Sorry, Darren, let's just terms and conditions this. If I had to get rid of one of the new ones, but I could keep the old ones, I would keep the Series 7 and keep the new phone. There. Please disagree with me if you can. Of course you can. I'm curious to know what you think, because I don't know if you bought anything, Darren. We all spent a lot of money this time, or maybe we didn't. Maybe you were sensible. I nearly skipped it this year, and the strangest thing has just happened. It's very, very dark outside my house, and one light just came on in the distance, and then another light came on next to it, and they are so close together. It's like a wolf's eyes looking at it. Have you read Fortunes of War, the Balkan and Levant trilogies by Olivia Manning, adapted by BBC by Alan Plater in the 1980s for it? And there's just this tiny, tiny moment at the start, looking out from a train, and there are these little lights reflecting, and they are wolf sizes. Terribly, terribly emotive, terribly absorbing. I love that. Well, the Balkan trilogy, the first one, absolutely great. The Levant, less so. Right. Okay. Yeah, Darren's question there. For some reason, YouTube isn't letting me scroll back up. Whoa. Oh, that's not fair. I missed out half a sentence there. Ha. Right. Okay. Steve was asking about, in general, there's nothing wrong with your own built-in focus mode. Yeah, Steve, we've talked. Okay, yeah. And Aquarius Al, in a roundabout way, it led me to you. I started following you writers on YouTube, and you turned up on my algorithm. An algorithm found me. Well, it's obviously good because we get to talk now, but okay. Forgive me for this side point. On my mind a lot. I don't have an answer for it, but it occurs to me that, we're unconsciously really dependent on algorithms. I mean, if you watch YouTube, there are times when I look at it and I think, I do want to watch that video, but I don't want to watch another 30 be recommended because of it. So I will sometimes think, how much am I into it? Because I like to think, and I'm sure you must think, because this has got to be true of you too. We are individual people. We have individual tastes. You can't predict what we want. And it's frightening that you can. My go-to example of I am better than algorithms is one of my absolute favorite musicians is well, I kind of struggle pronouncing her name. I'm sure Francesca is the first one. I just changed my mind in the middle of it, but it's something like that. And it's spelt Venezuela, but it's Venezuela, Francisca Venezuela. One of that one. I think she's American born, but lives in Chile, sings in Spanish, must be a quarter of my age, and stuff. Nice mix of styles, but generally poppy, bit of jazz in there, a range of other stuff, and I adore her music. How could a boring middle-aged British man in England ever find somebody like that through an algorithm? Since I don't believe she's ever charted in the UK, never seen her, covered on a British TV show or things. I have beat the algorithm and found someone who, I mean, I don't understand the language, and still the writing, there are songs that really get you in the chest for it. It's absolutely fantastic. And, in the middle of feeling smug there, I realized the entire reason I know about her is 15 years ago, iTunes put 2 of her singles out as free examples of the week, free samples of the week. And I got them and I liked them and I was hooked. But there wasn't an algorithm about me, was it? That was an algorithm of who can we promote this week that will sell a few iTunes sales or something. Anyway, I'm glad the algorithm has brought us together. Uh, Tell me more about your writing, though. Okay, I don't know anything about your writing yet. Spill. Tell me everything. And see, Mark is saying, "Oh, thank you, Mark. You're plugging my Patreon there. Should I talk about the Patreon thing? I feel like we talk about that, and every time on 58 Keys to say, do support us at 58 Keys Patreon. It doesn't ever say what's on it. Well, Mark's on it. There you go. What more do you need? So Steve, so now I need an iPhone 16 Pro Max Ultra God Emperor. Yes, and I could sell you one. Wouldn't be this one though, would it? Yeah. I know somebody whose first thought on something is the price. I think you're a bit more sophisticated than that. My thought was just buy a phone, sell it to Steve for twice the price. He'll never know. But of course he'd know. Okay. George saying, I think iPhone in max sizes are more convenient for gents like William who regularly wear jackets. Those pockets are quite useful. Yeah. I used to have this thing of, I have a shirt pocket here. I used to always keep the phone in the top pocket. But then around 2019 or so, when the first Pro models came out, they I don't know if I'm right, but they felt like they were taller. They felt like the weight was just enough that they would fall out. And it didn't matter if I put the phone in that way with the cameras at the top or cameras at the bottom. It still felt, you lean over to pick up a mug of tea and your phone comes out. It felt like that. So I stopped putting it in there and I started kind of holstering it really in my pocket just because of the weight thing. But yeah, when I'm out, a jacket is great. Although I genuinely, Stuart was right when he said about keyboards. Earlier today, I had the iPhone in one pocket and the keyboard in the other, and I was ready for anything like that. Darren saying is tempted. Oops, YouTube scrolling people away. Don't do that. Come back, YouTube. Darren was tempted by the watch, but my financial advisor advised me that it would not be a good idea to buy the watch at the moment. Do I have a feeling that you might be related to your financial advisor? There's something in the tone there. Oh, you're such a writer, isn't it? It's the words you use and the words you don't use. There, I love it. Steve and Olivia Manning. God, those books. Yeah, I must. This is live, and but it's going to be recorded, and there'll be a version on YouTube later. I must go in and put links to Manning's books. I've only read the two trilogies for it, but I absolutely loved those books. I actually remember sitting on the London Underground. Steve, if you know the books, there's a bit where Guy has given Harriet's ring to someone. I was so angry in that tube station. People who were sitting near me backed away from it. I don't believe I was saying anything. I just exuded rage at this character. Isn't that fantastic? That a writer, I mean, she's been dead 20 years by the time I read the book, can just instill that in you. And the reason I read the book actually is because Alan Plater, was a writing hero of mine and became a friend. He adapted it for BBC television. Emma Thompson and Kenneth Branagh starred in it. That's how they met. Ronald Pickup was in it as Prince Yakimov, and Ronald Pickup was later one of my Doctor Who's of Big Finish, and I was so thrilled, so beside myself. On my living room wall, okay, there is an A1 sized poster. There's a blow up of the last page of Alan's scripts to the final episode of Fortunes of War, because there's one line there. Out of context, it won't mean anything at all, but in context, on screen, it actually made me cry. And then reading the scripts years and years later, when I managed to get them, the same thing. But the reason I got those scripts, do you mind this? This is way, way off the topic, but let's make it the topic. The reason I got to read the scripts is that I wrote a book about another show of Alan's, The Beiderbecke Affair. All his papers for that are in the Whole History Archive here in the UK, so I spent a week in the archives. Fantastic place. And I left room to look at Fortunes of War and then one called Misterioso, just other projects of his purely for myself. And in the middle of the Fortunes of War, so I photographed every page of the script on my phone. 7 episodes, about 120 pages in that weird BBC script format for it. Please, you work out the number, but my battery was down to nothing but then. But right after the scripts, there was a lot of production documentation. And there was a letter Alan had written. It was like, he didn't call it a mission statement, but it was. It was explicitly this: why are we adapting these books in this way now? What is the purpose of this? And in the whole thing, he said, it's this line. And it was the same line that had so got to me. And I felt this huge connection, like this snap connection to one of my writing heroes for it. That was a lovely moment. Thank you for bringing that back into my head. But let's see. Darren hasn't bought anything. You might need an iPhone 16 Pro Max shortly. Do you know, actually, Darren, if you look around, the iPhone 15 Pro Max could be a better deal for you. I mean, don't go by me on that, because I hear that there isn't a gigantic difference between the 15 Pro series and the 16. There is for me, because I went from the smaller one to the bigger one. So to me, it seems like there's quite a radical difference. But if people are right that it isn't gigantic yet, you could well find a bargain for. I mean, Apple won't be selling them anymore. They always drop the Pro lines, but you will be able to get them somewhere, and it'll be able to run Apple Intelligence whenever that comes, if ever we're bothered with it. Just a thought there, right? Let's see. Oh, hang on. Anya, I watch things, then delete it from my YouTube history to stop the recommendations. I didn't know you could do that. Oh, but hang on. Is there anyone else in your household? Because they see you deleting history, that's going to be a bit suspicious, isn't it? I love the fact that if I've been away for a couple of days, I watch most YouTube through our Apple TVs. I'm there in the living room, I watch it, and all of the recommendations have changed from, writing and frankly obscure television things to basically Trump videos, really, at the moment, and they are quite absorbing. Worryingly absorbing. But I love the way that it's like YouTubers are going, oh right, God, they've changed their mind, they want to watch these videos instead, and go. So I'd hate to delete my history and be, well, I would hate for Anda to delete her history and deprive me of this chain of things. Although sometimes, do you know this? Of course you know this. YouTube recommends things that it thinks you'll like. Duh, it's the algorithm again. The thing that really shocked me a couple of years ago is I learned that even the people at YouTube do not know how the algorithm works. They obviously did when it started because they wrote it, but over time it has learnt. 7 million people watched this video after that one. Oh, we're having some of that then, and things. And it's become this black box. And I'm slightly worried, slightly riveted by that. I love the detail behind things you don't think about. And why is this being recommended now? Why is YouTube recently showing me lots of music from Fame when, I mean, I liked the film a lot. I followed the TV series. I've read 40 of the scripts recently. How does YouTube know that I've just read 40 Fame scripts? But there it is in there. So I mostly like it. Hang on a second. Oh, hang on a minute. Oops, hang on. I'm sorry. Oh, okay. Right. On you should look at what Darren's been saying there. Darren uses Downey to confuse the algorithm. No, wait a second. Hang on, Downey. I just called you Downey. Darren, in order to use Downey, you have to get the URL of the YouTube video and you put it into Downey, and then Downey drags it down. But that means you've gone to that URL at least to find it. I want proof. Give me proof that this works, and I'll do it immediately. Stuart saying, I started studying algorithms with the OU. Totally confused after the first month. That doesn't sound like you. You know this stuff, don't you? Only the other day I was talking to somebody about, again, you're all too young for this, but here in the UK, for the longest time, late at night and very early in the mornings, the Open University would have TV lectures on there. So, not even meant for the public, but they couldn't stop you watching. And there'd be some higher maths programs. It's 2 a.m. I've just finished writing something, too wide up to go to bed, and I'm watching the math thing, and I understand it. And I am so cocky. I'm like, and then turns on a dime, and they say, but then of course, if you take the axis, and it's gone completely beyond me, worlds away from me. I kind of miss that. Actually, a second. Darren, I have been. Darren's been writing an algorithm. Darren Stewart, I know you know each other. You should get together. Darren's been writing an algorithm this week for a software project. The algorithm has now been outsourced to some poor unfortunate person who answered their phone. And Darren's also only related to financial advisor by marriage. It's the best way. Yeah. Mark, Darren, I never dated a woman who didn't have some financial advice for me at some point or another, to be fair. Is that a comment on the entire female half of the species or on you? I'm thinking Occam's razor suddenly. Okay, that's gone off on once. Okay. Darren agrees, and the 15 Pro Max. There, you see. Have I been useful there? Has this been worth your time? We've learnt about NaNoWriMo, and well, we got so far and then backed away from it. Thank you. We've learnt about Olivia Manning. That's worth anybody's time, and the relative price of phones. I feel better. No, I worry about the live ones because the pre-recorded ones, I think about them a lot. I write them. I know they look very casual, and I hope they're casual stuff because it is just you and me talking. But still, I don't want to waste your time. It's like cramming as much as I can for it without it sounding like things are crammed in. Whereas here, basically, I gas at you for an hour. Thank God for the chat. What would we do without the chat? Darren, explanation. By using Downey, I can watch the video days later, and the algorithm has moved its goalposts so I get really obsolete recommendations. Okay, that's clever. The two lights out there, one is now winking at me, ever so slightly worrying. Okay, that's smart. But I've got to ask, is that deliberate? I mean, as in, I have downloaded this video and I will not watch it until Wednesday, kind of thing. Or just I've downloaded it, I'm doing something else for it. Because if you have the discipline to think, I mean, I'm watching videos about the making of Thunderbirds. And so it's not drop everything when it's there, but I can't wait a week for the next one. Self-control. How? Okay. Aquarius Al, I can watch a single video on a subject and my whole feed changes. So I reset it by opening a video on a topic you like. Oh, that is so clever. Oh, okay. Do you find, well, okay, but the topic, I was thinking individual videos, but no, the topic, like, that's clever. Okay. And Thunderbirds, see somebody else. Darren discovered it purely by accident. Thank you, Darren. I mean, if you were that disciplined, that self-controlled stuff, yeah, I might do that, but obviously I'll never talk to you again, clearly. Mark, Chris, 90% of what YT suggests to you anymore are William's past videos and clips from Dragon's Den, the UK version of Shark Tank. Oh, I knew that was called Shark Tank. And that's a much better title than Dragon's Den, isn't it? I mean, Dragon's Den's a bit cozy kind of sounding. And Thunderbirds are Go, FAB. I know what FAB stands for. That's going to keep you watching for a minute, isn't it? No, I just got to tell you because I'll forget otherwise. Do you already know? Okay, hang on. If you don't know what Thunderbirds is, if you don't know what FAB is, you're just looking at me now. But there's nothing wrong with that. So FAB doesn't stand for anything. It's short for fabulous, isn't it? Oh, hell. Is it fabulous? Darren, help me out there for it. So previously on 58 Keys Live, came into this with the topic of the small keyboard that I have lost. So that didn't go well. NaNoWriMo, which went kind of, I mean, usefully off the rails into some quite disturbing areas. So we backed away from that. Thank you, Steve. Then into new iPhones and things. And I think we've basically decided to give Apple less money. That also sounds good. Olivia Manning, all this stuff. Can I tell you another story about the whole history archive? No, because there's things here. Dot, you're here. Dot, you loved Thunderbirds. Yeah. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Sorry. Dot C. Is that the same Dot that I was talking about who knew all about NaNoWriMo? If it is, hello, Dot. If it isn't, hello, Dot. Darren Stokes wishes he knew what FAB means, and Fabi sounds good. Yeah, it genuinely is. Although it was like the characters would say FAB, Scott, kind of thing. Seriously, if you don't know what this is, I look so strange there. And it would be like copy that or okay or some sort of acknowledgement. And they always said it as the letters, but it actually just meant fab. It was made in the 60s. What can you do? Oh, Mark, speaking of small keyboards, you read Wes Hilliard's on Apple Insider review of the Clicks keyboard for iPhone, which turns your phone into a BlackBerry. I don't hate myself that much. Oh, and Dot, it's you. Great. Dot. We've done NaNoWriMo to death, all prompted by you, and have decided to back away from it. The Clicks keyboard, if you haven't come across it, right, William, I just looked around for a keyboard that I haven't got, let alone the left side. Clicks keyboard is like a case, fine. You've seen iPhone cases, but it's stretched out long. And on that, there's an actual clicky type keyboard, like a BlackBerry's keyboard, or very similar to it. So physical keys to press. Wes, his colleague of mine on Apple Insider, adores it as a concept. And he absolutely relishes that somebody wanted it so much that they went and made it. He doesn't think it's remotely usable. He says you're just going to have hell to get used to it, but he does keep using it. So, and I like that too. It's a keyboard. What's not to like? Darren, self-control is impossible in an Apple store. Don't ask how I know this. Yeah, I think we've all done that. What did I go in for? I went in to get something repaired. And while I was waiting, they managed to sell me a magic keyboard for the iPad. They're good, aren't they? They're very clever at this stuff. Oh, Stuart, you loved your BlackBerry. So have you got £130 or something that you would spend on a Clicks keyboard to recreate the BlackBerry experience? Part of the BlackBerry experience? The typing bit of the BlackBerry experience? Gets less and less the more you say, isn't it? Okay. And Stuart saying, no, not really. You didn't even hesitate there, did you? How we move on. How quickly we forget. I told you about Alan Plater and the whole history archive. This is just for me, really. I kind of, because you're a writer, you'll get this. I love that we can talk about topics. It's like I say, we're all different, but we get it. I don't have to ask you why you write. You don't have to ask me why I write. We understand, and I love that kind of thing. It's then you forget that sometimes you're talking to people who aren't writers, and they just think you're peculiar. I mean, how long I was working from 6 until just before we started talking, so that's 13 hours or so writing today. I mean, you know, fed my face along the way, and after we've done, I'm going to do a couple more things. You can well argue that's a peculiar thing in front of a keyboard for all that time. Don't you want to be out there in the fresh air? Maybe, but the keyboards are great. I love it, and hopefully you're healthier than I am. Hopefully you're more disciplined than I am. Hopefully you've got that work-life balance thing I keep reading about. Hopefully you've got that sorted out, but you understand the pleasure and the pain of being at the keys for that long. But because you're a writer, I told you I was in the whole history archive. I went twice. I spent 2 weeks there, long time apart, 5 years apart, 1 week each. So can't remember which way around this was, but in one of them, I carved out time to look at Fortunes of War. And then the other one, I looked at this one book. I actually mentioned this, Misterioso. It's a novel by Alan Plater, and it's one of my absolute favorites. Very simple, very pure is the word. It's just quiet, but it's a gorgeous book, and it became a one-off TV drama. It was going to be a 6-parter like the Beiderbecke Affair, and he got it down into one because of budgets and commissions and things. But in the book, hang on, somebody's actually said something here. That's just leaving you hanging for a little bit. Stuart, they were of their time, the Blackberry stuff. They did bring me Apple, though. Okay. Fresh air is overrated. Okay, no, Steve, don't do this. You're a secret closet athlete who walks dogs and does sensible things like that. Yeah, this is things. When we talk, you find out these things, and I remember. Whole History Archive, Misterioso, this actually beloved book. I've read it 20 times, and the last time I saw Alan just before he died. We were talking about it, and he said, "Bless you, I haven't read it since I wrote it." And I told him, "Well, it's my book now. Then it's not yours, it's mine." Yeah, that's the way it feels. There's a mistake in the book, like a plot mistake, and for such a quiet book, it's a huge plot mistake, and it always bothered me. I mean, surely I make enough plot mistakes, but this one, because the book was so special, this really dug into me. And I knew Alan spotted it as well because he did the TV version and he fixed it in the TV version. So imagine me there. I'm in the whole history archive and I have Alan Plater's original typewritten manuscript for Misterioso. I mean, actual typewriters. It's weird how the font brought me back to those electric typewriters, unimaginably old now, but there they were. And over certain pages, there would actually be typewritten changes on a new piece of paper, sellotaped over the bit he was changing. And I got to one, and it was so old by the time I read it. The adhesive was fading away, and just the slightest touch, the slightest breath would lift that, and you could see what was originally there. So about 10, 15 pages into the book, there's one, and I look at it and find that's the text I remember so well. And I lift it up, and there's the text I don't know. And the text I don't know has a tiny error in it, the smallest little thing. I mean, compared to the plot mistake, it's just nothing. It's like a shrug. You might not even notice it as you go by. It's only because I knew the book so well. I knew, maybe as much as Alan knew, that it was better fixed. But the thing is, the fix he did for that little bit created the problem later. And it felt, yeah, I actually stood up in the whole history archive and went, "Yeah," look, and quietly sat down again, stuff like that. The smallest things have the greatest impact. And isn't that brilliant? The smallest thing we do has a knock-on effect. I mean, in that case, it all went horribly wrong there, really. I'll put a link to Mysterio. I wonder if there's a way I can get you Misterioso, because I mean, it's so long out of print. Is there a way I can get you the script or something like that? Probably not, you know, morally and legally and things. I'll see if I'll do an Amazon search and an eBay search, and I'll put them in there. I think the last time I looked for it, I did get a copy. I have it in paperback. I have been given it in hardback. I have an audiobook version of it on cassette. I have no actual way to play it, but it's up on the it was up on the shelves till my shelves fell down recently. I'll do a search for it. I don't want to overpraise a book that you're going to find really quiet and gentle, but I love it. Alan Plater had this reputation for writing stories in which nothing happens, and strictly speaking, it's true. There's no giant action piece for it. There's no massive calamity or crisis. There's just real people living their lives, but the change they go through, the transformation, it just feels small and natural and brilliant. I love it. How did we get there from NaNoWriMo to this? Slowly. That's the answer. Right. Let's see. People still saying fresh air is overrated. So we shouldn't all just pop out now and go for a quick walk or anything. You're just looking at me now, aren't you? A couple of points of business, if I may. I'd love that you watch this on a Wednesday night. I'm convinced this goes out live the first time on 7 p.m. UK time on the. Are we on the first? Yeah, the first Wednesday of the month. Don't bother making a note of that because I think the time is not optimal. So next month, I'm going to try it on a Sunday afternoon. It might be later. Actually, you tell me what you think in the comments for it. When is a better time for you than this? I'm sure now that this isn't the best time because this actually replaces the regularly scheduled pre-recorded 58 keys, and they're stacking up now. I've got loads I want to show you. So if I move the live things out of the way, I can keep doing new pre-recorded ones on Wednesdays, and I want to get back to that. I mean, I will regret that in 7 weeks' time when I've run out of ideas or something. Hopefully Apple will launch a new iPad or something. Come on, Apple, you can do it. But that's the plan. The live ones will move. The live ones also really depend on you because it's an awful lot of me yapping, but this is the best bit, isn't it? I'm pointing at the thing. Oh, more like the Wednesday afternoon while you're at work. right, we've got 1 minute before the end of the hour, and I always want to keep this to an hour on hanging on. But a quick, very quick story. I used to work on the Radio Times website, so I'm sure this is true for everywhere, but we knew the ratings, we knew the traffic through it. And one of them was that the people coming to the radiotimes.com website, the numbers boomed up on a Friday afternoon, and it was office workers who were not doing their work, who were instead checking out what they were going to do over the weekend. I'm a freelance writer. I love the idea of being able to spend the afternoon piddling about on the Radio Times website. Well, I still do that, but then I have to work late into the night to catch up. Some of us work on our couch. Do you know, Steve, I actually misread that. I honestly thought for a second I was going to say some of us work on our coolness. I've got the wrong image of you, haven't I? You like, no, you did the dog walking. Yeah. We need to carry on this live conversation. That's what we need to do. But maybe not now, because it is at 8 o'clock UK time. I can tell you that next week's 58 Keys, if I may, the next week's video is, well, it's actually all about the decision of whether you go for the big iPhone or not. And I'm going to do lots of things in the video, like the size, and it's heavy and jiggly stuff. It's action packed, but I'm thinking of calling it "Go Big" or "Don't." I'm just not quite sure how to spell or don't, but see how I get on next week. Thank you very much for watching this. It is an absolute treat to get to talk to you, but it feels to me like it's more me talking, and I'd rather have things back from you. Tell me about your writing. Tell me everything. And remember, every time you tell me something, I don't get to write. So you're putting off my writing for me, and I'd like that very much. Thanks for this. Take care. I'm now going to just casually stretch over here to a button and find the button. This is worse than Zoom, isn't it? There we go. There's a button, and say bye. Okay, second button, also like Zoom. Bye to the sequel.